Hi there, and welcome to Ian's Ngauge channel. I'm Ian. In a previous video I revealed that I'd purchased a Revolution Trains inspection saloon in BR Blue livery that in later life was to be named Caroline. In this video I'm going to show how I fitted a DCC decoder to the inspection saloon so that its lighting could be controlled via DCC commands. But first, let's see how the lighting is controlled using the supplied magnetic wand when operating on DC. Right, here's a quick sequence of me operating the lights on a track powered by DC. By holding the magnetic wand at various locations along the roof of the coach, lights can be separately activated and deactivated. You can see the interior saloon lights, headlights, head code light, tail lights and tunnel inspection lights switching on and off at various points during this sequence. While a magnetic wand is fun to use, it's not a very practical method of controlling the lighting unless the coach is close by, and even then it can be a little haphazard. Thankfully, fitting a DCC decoder should improve matters for users operating the inspection saloon on a DCC powered layout. So let's go through how to fit a decoder inside the model. To fit the decoder, we obviously first needed to get into the coach by removing the body shell. With the inspection saloon being so detailed and having so many fragile parts, this process was going to be fraught with danger. So I took a good look at the model to see if there were any safe places it could be handled. And there wasn't. As usual, the instructions weren't very helpful, only advising me to ease out the lower edges of the body shell and to then gently lever it off. I turned to my trusty guitar picks to help me do this. I used the thinnest guitar picks available, and as you can see, it was a really tight fit to get one between the chassis and the body shell, and it took me quite a while to get one to slide between the two. Eventually I got a guitar pick between the body shell and the chassis on either side of the model, and after a bit of fiddling about, the body shell finally came away. This revealed a long PCB that contains the interior lighting and the decoder socket, which is tucked away beneath it. Thankfully, the PCB can be unplugged from the interior of the model to gain easy access to the decoder socket. As already mentioned, the inspection saloon is an incredibly detailed model, but I hadn't expected the details to continue onto the inside. As well as the seating areas, there's a bathroom and a kitchen area that are a complete joy to behold, and came as a very nice surprise. It truly is a magnificent model, and Revolution Trains should be commended for producing such an accurate and detailed representation of the prototype. Anyway, that's enough of me gushing. Back to the DCC fitting. The inspection saloon requires a Next 18 decoder to operate its lighting on DCC. Space to fit the decoder inside the coach is tight, and Revolution Trains recommend using an ESU 59828 LockPilot 5 microdecoder that is rather small, so is perfect for the job. However, it should be noted that the instructions mention that other decoders could be used, but may require you to trim part of the bodywork to accommodate them. As this was quite an expensive model, I was a bit reluctant to start filing bits of it away, so I decided to go with the recommended decoder. With the PCB removed from the model interior, there's easy access to the decoder socket, so the first thing to do is to remove the blanking plate. Of course, my big hand is in the way here, but I'm gently removing the blanking plate. Once this is done, I had a quick rummage in my DCC decoder box and found the ESU decoder. I then put the blanking plate away into the blanking plate box so I wouldn't confuse it with the real decoder. The tiny Next 18 decoder would only fit into the decoder socket one way around, so once it was aligned, try that again. Once it was aligned, it plugged into the decoder socket nice and securely. It was then a case of plugging the PCB back into the interior of the model, which was a little bit fiddly as the socket and pins had to be aligned, along with a couple of clips. But we got there in the end. Refitting the body shell was a simple case of dropping it over the chassis. I'd taken care to ensure that I'd kept the chassis and body shell orientation the same, so I didn't mix up the front and rear of the coach. The body shell slipped into place very easily, with some reassuring clicks as it engaged the clips on the sides of the chassis. It was another delicate manoeuvre that required some care to avoid damaging the model, so once complete I did an all-round check to make sure everything had come back together successfully, and I'd not damaged the model. Fitting a DCC decoder allows you to control the headlights, head code light, tail lights and tunnel inspection lights using DCC commands, as outlined in the instruction sheet. Unfortunately, you still need to use the magnetic wands to control the interior saloon lighting, which is a bit disappointing. The good news is that the approach Revolution trains have taken is to have the saloon lighting default to on. So even when you remove the coach from the track and then replace it, the saloon lights will illuminate, even if they were off to begin with. Right, here's a short running session featuring my DAPL Class 33 and the inspection saloon on my test track. Okay, so let's wrap up this DCC decoder fitting video. This is the most detailed model I've ever tried to get into, and other than a bit of a struggle getting my guitar picks to slip between the body shell and the chassis, I think everything went quite smoothly. I know I'm always banging on about it, but I would have preferred more detailed instructions, at least informing me where it was best to ease out the lower edges of the body, and where the chassis clips were. I liked that the decoder socket was fitted to a removable PCB, which made it very accessible, so fitting the decoder itself was very easy. I find that operating the lights on DCC is much better than using the magnetic wand, and the fact that the interior saloon lights are basically always on means that I don't have to worry about switching them on after the coach loses power. But best of all though, is that I didn't break anything off the model, so that has to be a win. I'd be interested to know if anyone else has fitted a DCC decoder to this model, and if you have, did you use the recommended ESU decoder, or have you had to trim the model to make your chosen decoder fit? Did you experience any issues, or did you find it a relatively easy job? Alternatively, if you've got any hints, tips, useful tools or techniques to pass on to a fellow ngauge modeler, or if you simply want to say hello, then please do so in the comment section. Anything and everything you've got to say will be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Hopefully I'll have another update soon. Bye.